Voters are regretting voting for Trump, Farmers Edition. We're back again, looking at videos of people regretting voting for Trump this time. We're looking at some farmers, particularly this one fella, this farmer that's been all over the internet. He's gone viral already talking about his issues with his loans he got from the government that Elon Musk and the Doge crew have just cut off. He said he got the loans from the NLCS, but it turns out they were, I think it was the NLCS, but it turns out the loans were actually from the Inflation Reduction Act, the big Biden bill that didn't go far enough because of Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema down in Arizona who blocked it because they're shills and in the bag for big corporations. Kristen Sinema, she now retired. She's going to get some sweet corporate job making millions of dollars a year because she voted the way they wanted her to when she was a senator. And these are all issues, problems that within our government and the way it's structured. And it all stems back to the 2010 Roberts Court Citizens United decision, which let unlimited dark money flow into politics. Okay, guys, so let's take a look at this Skyler, I believe his name is, video. He was a Trump voter, and now he lost these big loans he got from the government through the Inflation Reduction Act. And of course, Trump, Elon Musk, they hate the Inflation Reduction Act. They hate anything Biden did. Trump, just out of spite, he doesn't even really know what it is. He's an idiot. And Elon Musk just wants to cut off every program so he could collect all the money for him and himself and his billionaire friends. Anyway, let's watch this first video and I'll comment along the way, and you go ahead and comment down below and tell me what you think about this.
I might lose my farm because of the government. I got in bed with the government. I was promoting getting in bed with the government because I thought it was a good idea. So, NRCS, conservation planning. So they had a program out there called the EQIP program. And what the EQIP program is it's cost sharing on stuff like fencing, different seedings, water lines, waters, wells, and stuff like that to better conserve farmland for agricultural use. So I thought it was a great program. We got a contract with them for $240,000.
So to begin with here, he's given his own maga schadenfreude here by saying that he got it through the NRCS when he really got this loan through, which he'll make clear he got this loan through the Inflation Reduction Act. But MAGA doesn't like to admit that they needed help from a Democratic policy, of course.
So we signed a contract with them for $240,000, and we have bought different types of material. We've gotten paid out on some of it, but I now have $80,000 worth of material and signed contracts for labor that are going to install the water lines in the upcoming few weeks and months. And with that being said, they called me today and said, hey, I know we have this signed contract. We're reneging on it. We're not going to pay out on it. What do you mean you're not going to pay out on it? So I've got all this stuff bought, and whenever I install it, you're not going to pay out. We had this contract. I made business decisions based on this contract. So now I have $80,000 out of my pocket that I didn't have to spend. So the $80,000 that we have is supposed to go to our farm loan in the fall. If we don't have that money, that's our hay money, that's our farm money, our farm payment money. If we don't have that money, we will lose this farm. And the only way that I can think to get around it is we sell some cows. And if I sell cows now to make the payment, to make that payment, I'm not going to be able.
So the big thing with these MAGA people is, they're mean. Meanness is the point with MAGA. They want to take WIC, food stamps away from people. They want to take Medicaid away from poor people. But when it affects them, that's when their eyes open and they want help then, when it affects them directly. So this guy should have done his homework. He should have, read the policies. He should have read Project 2025 because this was all written there in black and white. But, like most of MAGA and not even MAGA, most of the voters for Trump, they didn't care to look and see what Trump's policies actually were. They just listened to the rhetoric they see on TV. They were also deceived by the big networks, MSNBC and all them. When Trump said he never heard of Project 2025, all the big news networks just took him for his word, which is ridiculous. Why would anybody ever take Donald Trump for his word? He's the most known liar in history, maybe besides Hitler. I don't know.
They'll make the payment in the fall because the cows are calculated in my payment in the fall. So because I got in bed with the government, I spent money based on a contract that we signed. They're reneging on it. I'm just screwed. And unless they lift this pause on payment, I'm going to lose this farm. So they have told me that the best thing that they can tell me is get in touch with the congressmen and congresswomen and see if I can get something done about this. So I've reached out to Ann Wagner's office. That's the congresswoman of Missouri. I'm hoping that something comes out of that, but I don't have very high hopes of it. Hopefully this is a temporary ban on payment of that, but I don't understand how you can sign a contract and then just renege on that contract. I do not understand that at all. And if something doesn't change, we are going to lose this farm, and I am extremely stressed about it. But also, with that being said, I've been promoting NRCS. Do not look into government programs, because everybody told me I've been waiting for payment for a long time. You're going to get screwed. And I was like, no, it's a contract. They can't do that. And sure as shit, here we are.
Yeah, welcome to Trump's government. They're doing whatever they want. They're canceling contracts. They're cutting funding. They're canceling whole departments, and they're gonna worry about the consequences later. You know, it's the Silicon Valley tech bro mentality: move fast and break things, and worry about it later. And Trump is even, you know, so far, him and Musk and JD Vance have said they're not going to listen to the courts. You know, I know some of you guys aren't, you know, is technically caught up on the government, you know, the three branches of government. There's checks and balances, but the major flaw in our checks and balances system is that all the enforcement, in other words, the Department of Justice and the Justice Department and the military, it's all controlled by the executive branch. So if the executive branch says, "Oh, well, make me do it," to, you know, a federal judge, the federal judge has no enforcement power. He can't send the Department of Justice over there and arrest the president like the president could do if the judge disobeyed his orders, or to anybody, or the FBI. The president controls the CIA, the FBI, the Department of Justice, the military. So, you know, it happened once in the history of the country with Andrew Jackson. He defied, I think the Supreme Court told him to stop killing Indians out west, and he said, "Make me," basically, and he killed many more Indians, you know, through the US military. Okay, so there's another guy out there, another farmer, that put out a video, you know, just giving this Schuyler kid some education on, you know, what the Republican Party is, what the conservative movement is, the propaganda they've been spreading for years, and, you know, how maybe it's not his fault because he bought into the propaganda, but it is still, in fact, propaganda that he believed that made him vote for Trump and made, you know, 50% of the country vote for Trump. Because most people, when they find out, as we're seeing in these videos, when they find out Trump's policies, they don't agree with them. Or, you know, when they find out, especially when it happens to them, like I said, once it happens to them, they really are upset about it. You know, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people in the country are just mean spirited. I know I have friends in my own life that are like this. You know, they're mean spirited people, or maybe they're racist, and they want to see bad things happen to people that don't look like them, or people they don't like, liberals, people of color. And but when it happens to them, then they come crying. You know, like a lot of them are coming crying to the Democratic Party now, like, "What are you going to do for us? How are you going to fight this?"
Says in the comments, Project 2025, didn't you read that? That's his platform.
Hey, Schuyler, my name's Will Westmoreland, and I'm a farmer down in southwest Missouri. And I just wanted to reach out to you and tell you that I am not an FAFO kind of guy. We probably disagree with each other on everything political, but there's a very specific reason why people are getting upset with you, and I wanted to explain that to you if you'd be willing to listen to an older guy kind of walk you through the process. Now, I'm not an FAFO guy because I know what's going to happen to poor people, the elderly, children, single moms, and over 250 million people every night around the world that go to bed hungry if the American farmer and rancher is run out of business because of Trump's policies. And that's what I want to explain to you tonight if you'll listen to me. I also wanted to let you know I sent you a private message. And if you ever want to get on the phone and you want to talk about the issues that Trump is forwarding that are bad for agriculture, I'd be willing to do that, and I'd be willing to listen to your arguments as well. I also want to let you know that I've been a political consultant for over 30 years. I want to be right up front about that. I do that in addition to farming. And I want you to know a lot of younger people don't know, and I don't mean that in a condescending way, but more of an educational way.
So this guy is a farmer too, but he is much more educated on the politics and the propaganda and what has been going on for the last 30 or 40 years, starting back with AM radio, Rush Limbaugh. I don't know, back in the day I used to go and, I would drive cross country. I was a seasonal worker, so I would, especially in college, I was from the East Coast, but I would drive out to Colorado for college, or even after that, I would work as a raft guide, drive out west, drive out east. And when you're in those flyover states, they call them, all you're doing is listening. The only radio you get is AM radio, so you're playing CDs, listening to music. That's what I did a lot of times, CDs. I'm showing my age, but when you weren't listening to music, you turn on the radio and you'd get AM news, and you'd hear just the craziest stuff coming out of. You'd hear just the craziest stuff coming out of these AM radio stations, super conservative, Bible Belt stuff, and that's what's warped the minds of many, many Americans. Till this day, it turned into Fox News. I think Sean Hannity started out with a radio show. But anyway, let's listen to Mr. Moreland some more here.
A lot of younger people don't know that right-wing talk radio and news, the pundits, the talking heads, and right-wing talk radio, etc., have been working for over 40 years to develop in rural people exactly the kinds of ideas that you have in your head, that all politicians are crooks, that they're all the same, that you can't.
See, that's exactly what I'm talking about, the right-wing media. See, this is what you have to understand about the right wing, is the right wing has always been the moneyed wing, whether it's the Koch brothers or Elon Musk. The right wing has a lot more money than the left wing, or they're willing to spend it on propaganda anyway, and to, brainwash the American people into thinking, all their problems are because of others, Mexicans, Indians, whoever, when really all of our problems in the U.S. stem from the billionaire class wanting more tax cuts, wanting to pollute the environment more, and now we've just handed over the government to that class with Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they have this this theory, that the president should have more power, and the Unitarian theory, I believe it's called. The president should be all powerful, and there shouldn't be checks and balances anymore. Basically a dictatorship, and the billionaire class has been leaning this way for several years. Let's listen to more of this Mr. Mullen. He's a smart guy.
Can't trust traditional media, that anything you hear that comes out of Washington, D.C. or New York or the New York Times or CBS News, that it's all a lie. And they did this on purpose, and they started with Ronald Reagan. We used to have what's called a fairness doctrine in this country, where if you were a radio station or a television station and you were using the public airwaves to present a message, we had a fairness doctrine where you were required by law to share the other side of the story. And President Ronald Reagan, who was president when I was in high school and a little bit younger than that, had the fairness doctrine eliminated. He had it taken out of the books. And there was a specific reason for that. It was designed so that organizations like Fox News and right-wing talk radio could start.
That's right. Does anybody remember the fairness doctrine? If you do, go ahead and comment down below. I mean, I specifically remember it. It basically said that, it was a rule that, and this is when there was only a few networks, a few network news channels. There wasn't a million, news channels, independent news channels like this all over the internet. And, but the fairness doctrine basically said that, the news channels had to tell the truth. Otherwise, they could be sued or put out of business or whatever.
Start spreading the lie that all mainstream media was bad. Now, this was during the time of Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather, all the other news heads that we had out there that were highly respected. But it was a strategy to make it so that the airwaves no longer had to present an unbiased case. And then these right-wing media sources like Rush Limbaugh and Fox News, etc., began pouring it on to rural America. You can't trust politicians. You can't trust the news. And what they did is they focused on destroying the trust in these institutions so that they could replace it with another institution. And they did that. They replaced it with Fox News. They replaced it with right-wing talk radio. And I can't tell you how many times when I was growing up, when I was your age, I'd walk into a job site or be on a farm and I would hear right-wing talk radio blaring on the radio all day long. And then after they had destroyed our faith in media institutions in rural America, they then turned their guns toward the government itself. And they began building in us a distrust of government organizations. And Skylar, here's the facts, okay? You can look this up on your own, but these are the facts. Rural America uses more welfare than the blue cities do. Rural America needs more help feeding our children. We need more help keeping our hospitals.
He's so correct. That's why right now, with Trump's policies, red states are feeling it much more than blue states. Red states in the U.S. depend on the blue states for welfare. They don't make enough money to run their own states, whereas California and New York and, Minnesota and Massachusetts, they have surplus of money, which goes into the federal coffers, which goes back to these red states to keep them afloat. If you've seen in the news all week, Katie Britt, the senator in Alabama, is freaking out because they cut NIH funding, which goes to the arsenal in Alabama, which is one of the biggest employers in Alabama. It employs 30 or 40,000 people. The University of Alabama, Birmingham, which is, I think the arsenal is the biggest employer, and the university is the second biggest employer. And they're both huge recipients of these NIH funds that just got cut by Elon Musk, in a day, no warning. And, it's putting thousands of Alabamans who very strongly went for Trump in the election, in every election. And, it's gonna come back to bite Trump in the ass if we still have our democracy by the time the next election comes around.
And guys like you and I, farmers out there that grow row crops or do agroforestry or raise cattle, we take welfare too. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because we can't control the cost of our inputs. We can't control the cost of what we sell our products for. We got to pay for shipping both ways, as Kennedy said. But the reality of the situation is they were able to instill in us the idea that the government money coming to us was okay and was a good thing, but the government money going everywhere else was a scam or a sham or communistic or socialistic, etc. So it reached a fever pitch finally where a lot of rural people, over 70% of rural farmers and ranchers, only believe the Fox Newses and the talk radio. And when they came to you and told you that Trump wasn't going to implement Project 2025 and that he didn't have anything to do with it, you believe that. And you're not alone. All I'm here to tell you is that you were lied to. I'm not asking you to admit you were wrong. I'm not telling you you effed around and found out, because I don't want to see you lose your farm. And if there's anything I can do to help you not lose your farm, I'd be happy to do it. But in the distrust that you built up for government over time, and due to the fact that you didn't think mainstream media was reliable anymore, and you began listening to the news sources that tried to convince you every day that Project 2025 was not a Trump deal, even though many, many people on his campaign worked for Project 2025.
I mean, this is exactly what we need in the country right now, is people, sensible guys like this, talking to the younger generation, and maybe me too, talking to the younger generation and telling them, hey, you've been bamboozled for years by this right-wing propaganda. Donald Trump is a liar and a fraud, and he just wants big tax cuts. Read the news right now. They're gearing up for trillions of dollars in tax cuts, and they're going after Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security.
They helped write it. There was an entire section on agriculture. And in that section on agriculture, they specifically say they're going to cut out programs like this. Then they're going to cut out crop insurance. And Donald Trump is on record, my friend. And Skylar, look this up. Don't take anything I'm telling you at face value. You look it up. That's the difference between me and a lot of people on here. Check what I've said. Make sure I'm not lying to you.
Yeah, like I always say on here and my other channel, Facebook isn't research. You have to go to Project 2025. Read it for yourself. Don't listen to the propagandists. Even your friends on Facebook, they've been bought in. They bought into the propaganda too. They don't know what they're talking about. Read the information for yourself. Go to scholarly papers, peer-reviewed papers. Get information that way if you really want the truth.
Trump is on record saying that corporate farming is better than small family farms and ranches. And Skylar, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to corporatize agriculture. And I'm not talking about when you and I go out and put together an LLC so that we can get the tax benefits and the protections from liability that come with that. I'm talking about big ag corporations and Wall Street buying up family farms and ranches as they go out of business so that they can turn it into just another investment. In the last 10 years, we've broken every single record in regard to the number of farms and ranches being bought up by investment companies in the United States. And I'd be happy to share all of that data with you. But my friend, I think the worst thing that they did to us in rural America is they convinced us somehow to place the culture wars over our own well-being. And what do I mean by that? Brother, when I was young, you didn't care what anybody did in their bedroom. Gay, lesbian, trans, whatever. That was their life. And the only way the law changed was just to say that you can't discriminate against those people when you're hiring. And you can't commit acts of hate against them because they're different than you and I as heterosexual white men. That's all the law did. And Skylar, did you know that the Southern Baptist Convention, and I was a Southern Baptist for a long time, do you know that the Southern Baptist Convention had its own clauses in their charter that said that abortion was okay in the event that it saved the life of the mother or the child might be deformed? But it was political hacks in the religious Christian movement that came in and politicized the abortion topic in order to get folks like you and I in rural America to turn against it. So I'm not here to tell you FO, brother. I know how hard you work every day, and I know what you're trying to do for your family because I'm doing the same thing. And you may listen to what I have to say, and you may just think this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But I hope you'll listen to it with an open mind, and I hope you'll double check and research what I've told you. Because the truth of the matter is we've been lied to. So at this stage, I'm not even asking you to say you were wrong. I'm just asking you to admit that you were lied to. Trump was forwarding Project 2025. He just hired the guy to oversee cost and contracts in the federal government that wrote Project 2025. We were lied to, my friend. And nobody's going to judge you if you just admit that you were lied to and you made decisions based on the fact that you thought these contracts were going to be kept and that you were lied to. And then the next step is get involved with us to fight back. It doesn't make you a Democrat. It doesn't make you a turncoat. It just means you see wrong when it occurs and you fight back against it. Anyway, I hope that makes sense and have a great day.
What a great message. I'm here for that. We need more like that guy.
Yep, here in Mississippi, we voted for Trump. Although now we tend to regretting it a little bit. You see, my mother's insulin used to be way cheaper under Biden, and now Trump did away with the law keeping insulin down, and my mother's insulin prices have skyrocketed. Now that is contrary to what Trump was saying. He was saying he was going to get prices down, and literally no prices at all have gone down.
Yeah, I've been arguing with people on Reddit about this. Now the goalposts moved. People are saying, well, prices aren't down yet, but it's going to get better, or prices aren't down yet, but at least he's closing the borders. Prices aren't down yet, but look what he's doing in Gaza. But the fact is, prices aren't down. So he said that on day one, and I mean, I knew he was lying, but I think a lot of the country voted for him for the economy, not for, you know, his racism or Gaza or changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. That's all just red meat for his base.
And everything he's doing, he's saving money for the government, but I thought he was going to be saving money for us. That's what we all thought, and that's why we voted for him, because of Bidenflation and Bidenomics. We're just sapping our bank accounts dry, and we were waiting on Trump to come in and fix all that, and he literally doesn't seem to be doing that at all, and I just can't understand why he would say that to us but then not do it. It's almost like he lied to get our votes or something. Can you believe that?
Okay guys, if you liked that video, go ahead and watch this one next, and I'll see you next time on the Spin Cycle.